Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X and Gen Z discuss life's challenges and how we face them as queer people. We have these open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio Guzman, and with me is my lovely roomie bestie, Daniel.
Hi, Julio.
And we also have another special guest this week.
We do have a guest who I believe is a millennial, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thinking
yes.
into
Wow,
deep
I
thought.
really had to think
Am I?
about that. Like personally, I identify as maybe a zillennial, but I don't know.
Got it.
That's fair. Cody Seiya is with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
Great. Love it here. Love
Yeah.
being in Austin.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice breath of fresh air. Also, it's warm.
Yeah, welcome to the warmth. You made it on a good time because right now it's not too hot. It hasn't gotten too crazy. But if you're here during the summer, be prepared to sweat non-stop.
If you were here in the summer, you would just have to be shirtless most of the time.
Oh, rats.
And it's
Well-
maybe a Speedo at most. So.
Which, from what I've seen, isn't that your norm?
Yeah, it's kind of the default. Yeah, maybe a little less than that, actually.
Gotcha. Well, tell our listeners what you do, who you
Yeah.
are, a little bit about yourself.
I am a porn star, model, artist, nerd.
Love.
Just a guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how old are you?
I am
Telling, or your secret age, whatever you want to say.
secret. I mean, I love playing the guessing game, but you want to guess?
Don't ask me to guess. I'm going to guess well, you carry yourself a lot older, but you look like you're 25, 26.
I will take that. Thank you.
It's the beautiful skin.
Thank you. It's, Asian don't raisin, as I like to say, brown don't frown, black don't crack.
There we
you
go.
know, all the good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm 33.
Wow.
Yes.
I would have not guessed 30s. Maybe like max 28, 29. But for you to be in your 30s, that's
Thank you.
impressive.
Now do me, Julio.
What's the next question? Are we moving on from this?
Wow.
I don't think you want me
Wow.
to guess your age.
I actually don't. So, Cody, you and I met in 2023, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And the person who brought us together,
Diego Sands.
he's been bringing people together for so many years.
Yeah, I'm sure.
He really does the world a service.
Truly.
He really does.
People just truly come together with Diego.
Yes, thank you. I was like, how do I work that
Yeah.
word in
yeah, I
there?
had to
And
think
you
about
got
for a
it.
second.
You did it.
Yeah, we come together.
It's your
Thank you.
job. It's your job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you and I never really had the chance to work together.
Yeah.
And I was very excited when we had the opportunity to get you here to Austin, because although we've talked and we've texted a bit over the last couple of years, I really didn't know you. And now I know you, and I really don't want you to leave. I'm like, we can make room here in the house. Like we can.
Back.
Yeah, you have attachment issues. Yeah, like once you're attached, like you're like,
really
come on,
do.
move on in. We have another room. And
Yeah.
I'm like, we just got rid of people. no more, please.
But-
you'd be pretty cool as a
Thank
human,
you.
I feel like,
Thank
and you would
you.
mesh pretty well with the vibe of what we're
I'm
into.
a chill guy,
sure.
Aquarius through and through. I'm just like
Love
very
Aquarius.
much just like able to weave in. And,
Yeah. You
Right.
two could watch anime together.
Yeah.
We sure could.
I'll
Watch-
bring my PS5.
What? PS5?
Yeah, I'll
That's
bring
even
my
better.
PS5.
Oh
Yeah,
my god,
there we go.
yes.
We can game.
Play
Best
the
gaming console in my opinion.
play the games, and then you and I can talk about Disney stuff, because
Perfect.
your background, you actually
I used to work at Disneyland as
Yeah.
a face painter in high school.
Love.
Yeah, I'm a closeted Disney adult. I'll be real.
There's another one right here.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't tell you this, Julio, but we've already made plans to go to Tokyo. So you need to. He doesn't have his passport. So
Get on
get your
that.
passport.
I know. It's been so long.
We're
I need
gonna
to.
go to Tokyo, and he and I are gonna like maybe take a day and leave everybody behind and go to Tokyo Disney.
Oh.
So
Not only land, but sea.
Yes.
And like sea
Wow.
is everything.
Way to include me into the plans, Way to just be like, you can come to Tokyo, but Disney, you cannot come to Disney.
Well, speaking of foreign travels and far off places, your origin is America, but that's not your mom's origin. You want to tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah. I am thoroughly the child of immigrant parents. My dad's family immigrated, I guess, 2 generations ago. So his dad immigrated to the States. And then my mom is from Hong Kong. Yeah. I grew up in a very mixed household, and yeah, I just have like all these very different cultural influences, and yeah.
So what was that like? I mean, Jewish family, Chinese family, that seems very...
Your father's Jewish,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah, and then my mom.
quad it.
Chinese. Yeah, yeah.
It seems very on opposite ends of the spectrum there culturally. Like, what was that like? Did you feel like you identified with one more than the other? Did you ever feel like the two sides were at war with each other?
At times, yeah. It was very funny because, like, in the Jewish religion, you're not supposed to have any sort of, like, idols or, like, things in the house. And, like, my mom would have gunyam, like this Buddhist deity statue. And, like, I remember my parents, like, arguing about that at one point. Being like, that shouldn't be in here. Why is that in the, in the doorway, blah, blah, blah. And I felt like I was being pulled in so many different directions, too. Like, growing up, I would go to shul on Friday nights. And then, for, like, holidays, my mom would bring me to the Buddhist temple. It was really fun and exciting, though. Like, I feel like I took all the lessons from both religions, and
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty devoted religious cultures, in my opinion. So, like, did you ever have maybe a conflict within yourself to be like, I'm feeling more Jewish than the other religion? Or did you just feel like, are you even religious today?
I was constantly, like, just dealing with identity crisis all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I just, like, wasn't sure, what I was or, like, what I associated with. And, like, I feel like Hanukkah is the one time of the year that it's not, like, weird to be Jewish. I don't know. I just feel like people are like, oh, yeah, Hanukkah. And then throughout the rest of the year, it's like, oh, like Yom Kippur or whatever.
Right.
People are just like, oh, he's Jewish. Like, yeah, I think I associated more with, like, my mom's side and, like, also just being, like, very Asian presenting. It was easier for me to be like, oh, yeah, like, I'm more, like, into the, like, the Buddhist and, like, Chinese traditionalist sector. But I don't know. I feel like I have such a complicated relationship with my Judaism just because I didn't have the greatest relationship with my dad. And I feel like
aren't men just the worst?
Truly, just like straight men. Oh, and gay
I
men.
know, right? Like all of us with daddy issues.
Right. I'm just like, well, all men. Let's be real. So just like deciphering that relationship, and like I feel like so much of my Jewish upbringing was kind of forced upon me in a way where it's like, you have no option. We're going to the Seder, we're going to shul, we're going to the service. And I'm like, I don't wanna. But like looking back, I found it like kind of sweet in a way too, like the ceremony around it and like the ritual and just the community behind it. And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from both of those upbringings, is that like just the sense of community and like mitzvahs, I think, as well. The concept of mitzvah is just like doing a good deed for someone without expecting any sort of like, I don't know, reciprocation.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I try and practice that every day at least. Like, I'm going to do like one nice thing for someone, like regardless, and not expect anything in return.
For sure. Yeah, it's beautiful.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So where do you land now? Like, are you a religious person? Are you spiritual?
I think I'm more of a spiritual person these days where, I don't necessarily believe in God or religion, but I do believe in community and just bettering like myself and the people around me and like what I can do for other people. And so, yeah.
Spirituality is an energy, instead of like a focused religion where you're practicing something daily. Instead, you're more in tune with yourself and the vibration that you're letting out.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I like that. Yeah. So my partner's Jewish as well. And so it's been kind of sweet having that shared trauma in a way, like both growing up in the Jewish religion and this, all of the services and holidays and all the weirdness that comes with being Jewish. It's like we don't have to explain to each other all of these, shared experiences, which is really sweet. And so because of that too, my dad passed 13 years ago. He was like my one true connection to like Judaism. And so it feels really special just like having my partner be Jewish and like be a part of his family and being able to like just kind of slot myself into like the Seder table and like go to services with them and just like get in touch with that again. But also coming at it with a more, I don't know, a different perspective, I guess you would say, in that I'm like, I don't necessarily believe in like the words or like the idea of God, but I really appreciate like the ceremony and like this togetherness that it's bringing.
In theory, religion is a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We see it these days taken in a completely different direction. So unfortunately, it's bastardized the whole concept of religion, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But at its core, it should be a beautiful community-driven thing.
Yeah, if you come at it from like a fundamentalist like viewpoint, the fundamentals of it, great.
Yeah.
We love it.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have family here in the U.S. on either side? Are you close to anyone?
Yeah, most of my family has immigrated from wherever they were, Eastern Europe and Hong Kong. So like most of my mom's family is all spread throughout the Pacific Northwest, and then my dad's side just all throughout the States, mostly East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're pretty close to them?
Not as close as I would like to be, but that is okay because I have so much chosen family. You know, it's the canon queer
For sure.
experience.
Yes.
It's like queer family
1000%.
and chosen family.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And so I find those figures within people that I don't have blood relation to. Yeah.
You mentioned having a partner. How long have you all been in a relationship?
It's been 2.5 years, but it feels like it's been 10 years that we've been together. And I mean that in the best way possible.
I'm
like,
sure. Yeah.
You know, where it's like, oh, wow, like it's only been 2.5 years, but we've been to like 30 countries together. We've been through like so many just major life events in such the short amount of time that we've been seeing each other. And yeah.
That's lovely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Talking about your mixed heritage a bit, you had struggles as far as religion goes, but you did touch on briefly how it seemed from the outward appearance that you leaned more into the Asian side of things. Like, did you ever feel like you didn't belong on either side because you didn't look quite traditionally Chinese and not looking traditionally Jewish either?
Yeah, that was a constant struggle, battle. I still go through it today where it's just like I never quite fit into any space that I exist in or like inhabit. It's really led to just this imposter syndrome that I've carried my entire life. Like even kind of bleeding into like, you know, the adult industry or just like, yeah, where I'm just like, do I actually belong here? I don't know. Do I fit in? And at the same time too, I've used that as a means of just like being open and being able to like float and just kind of like observe and be comfortable.
I noticed personally that there's a lot of cultural identity problems in the U.S. when it comes to people who come from immigrant families, like myself as well. Sometimes I don't feel Latino enough. Sometimes I don't feel like I'm fitting a specific type or like know enough about my culture just because we came here and now we're living the quote unquote American life,
right,
that you kind of lose a lot of your culture in regards to living here and then mix that in with the gay community and everything. It's like, who am I overall based off of, like, I know what makes me me and what ethnicities I am and like what I am spiritually. But when it comes to the things that are my history, I don't know much about them. And I get lost trying to like dabble into those things. I'm sure that's a common thing for a lot of people.
Like so relatable, and it's very much the battle of like, you know, assimilation versus integration.
Yeah.
It's like how it doesn't have to be either or, you know. It's like whenever I'm in like a more Asian space, people can tell that I'm different, or like, you know, in
I get
predominantly
it.
white spaces, it's like people are like whenever I was going to shul, or I did a birthright trip 10 years ago because I was seeing an Israeli guy at the time. So many people and so many Israelis were just like, what are you doing here? Like, you're Jewish, you know, and like people will challenge me on that too. And I'm like, trust, like I have done my damn time. Like I am Jewish, like by blood for sure. And by, you know, just cultural upbringing.
To be challenged, like you know who you are.
Where it's like,
and to have someone
hurts.
challenge that.
Yeah. It's
I
like,
mean,
it sucks to like.
It does suck. I face that a lot growing up. And
Right.
even sometimes in my day right now, like people see me and they don't think I'm like Latino enough or Mexican enough. And like even within my own community, and then I start speaking Spanish to them and they're like, oh, okay, well, fine.
Yeah.
But I'm still like, just because I look not as similar to all of y'all doesn't mean that I'm anything less, you know?
Exactly. And it's so funny too, because like I speak a little Chinese still. And it's funny because I'll like respond to folks in Chinese and they'll be like, oh my God, you're Chinese? And I'm like, well, yeah, like you can't tell. And they're like, oh no. And I'm like, well, yeah, I will explain to them too. Like, oh yeah, well, my mom's from Hong Kong. And they're like, okay, well, you're still American because you're not born. You're not from China. And I'm like, okay, like not this like birther shit.
For
Like,
sure,
none of
yeah,
that,
I know. It's
but
like they almost
okay.
just discredit your whole culture just
Yeah, like,
because
do you
were
get
born
that
here.
too?
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
It's yeah.
It can be very annoying, but it's something that can also just mess with your head at times because it's like, okay, well, who am I and where do I fit in this country, you know?
Yeah. And yet again, it just like speaks to like the queer experience where it's like, well, I don't see myself in these spaces. These people do not hold this space for me, so I'm gonna just create my own.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's what we're doing.
I often have straight friends who look at the community that we've created.
You don't have straight friends.
And one,
joking.
two, maybe three. They are oftentimes jealous of what we've created because we get to choose the people who are in our lives regularly. They can do the same thing, but oftentimes, especially straight white men, feel so obligated and locked in to a certain path in life. I had a friend who I worked with, and he has a family, a beautiful family. And he said to me one time after I was talking about whatever I had done with my group of friends that weekend, he was like, like, I'm just so jealous of the life that you lead. And my response to him was, well, you know, a lot of people are that I know on the gay side are jealous of the life you lead because you had an easy path to having this family, and you can easily have kids. And it is a struggle with us. So a lot of times it's grass is greener sort of scenario.
Totally.
But we are very fortunate in the respect that we do get to build something that is, for many of us, a beautiful thing. And a lot of times it's born out of just survival, pure survival.
Totally.
Like when Julio moved in 6 years ago, it was survival. I just needed a person in the house. Yeah. And
I
and
thought
now
I was survival. I was like, can you please let me in? I need a place to stay.
Middle of a storm, you're just like, in a shawl. You're just like, please help.
honestly, it was survival on both of our parts. Like we both needed something that the other person had. Yeah. And then it turned into family. And I wouldn't trade it for anything because you can't. I couldn't choose who my brother is. Yeah. But I got to choose Julio, and
he actually had a list of like 5 potential young roommates and was like, we'll go with this one.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
I still
You got
regret
the
that
rose.
one.
I did get the rose.
Oh, but talking about gay life.
Yeah.
How were your parents when you came out? And you said your dad had passed away 13 years ago. I don't know if you had come out prior to that.
Yeah.
But how has family in general taken that?
So I came out when I was 19.
Okay.
This wild. Actually, on my dad's deathbed, he asked me if I was gay, and at the time, I mean, we just were not close. We did not get along. I was just such a different person to him, and like he just did not know what to do with me. Like our viewpoints were just so diametrically opposed, always butting heads, and I just like didn't respect him nor want to give him, like that deeper look into who I was as a person. And so when he asked me, I was like, no, I'm straight. And I like went back to like playing video games or whatever I was doing in the hospital. And then with my mom, I came out to her. I mean, it was a couple months after my dad had passed, and maybe not the best timing, but also like, when is the best timing to come out to your parents?
Yeah.
Never or yesterday.
Yeah.
So, and like I was so, I guess, naive in a way when I first came out, where, I don't know, she kicked me out of the house. And so I was like living with friends for a while.
Moved back like 20?
in. Yeah, it was like early 20s, moved back in, and it seemed to like be okay. Like we had moved past that. And so for a while I thought like, oh yeah, she understands like the gay struggle and like who I am, and she like respects who I am. Turns out like as the years have gone on, I realized that she has never truly like understood what a gay person is or like experiences or goes through, and like what that struggle is, and she still believes it's a choice. And so I'm just like, wow, like I was just so naive, like thinking like, oh yeah, she's got it. Like took her a while. She came around.
For sure. So she kicked you out for being gay?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, gotcha.
It's like hysterics,
Yeah, I'm sure. And like similar energy to like my experience coming out to my mom. Like at first she like was a little distant, and I thought she was okay with it, but then she like kind of thought that it was a choice or like something had happened to me, and I'm like, no, nothing. And then like after I came out to her 2 years later, she's like, oh, so you're still doing this? And I'm like,
Oh,
what do you
wow.
mean? I'm like, I thought things were going good. And now you're
Right.
telling me things, but
Right, treating it like a hobby. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you're still into crocheting? Like, girl, what?
but I mean, we're good now. I think she's
Okay.
starting to understand more that like it's not just like a choice, and it's actually like feelings. But that must have been very difficult to just have your mom be like, hey,
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah, this person who's like your entire world. And
Yeah.
especially when your world is then shrinking by losing a family
yeah,
member.
for sure.
Within that immediate family too. Yeah, it was just very unsettling and grounding, just disorienting.
Do y'all have a better connection now?
I keep things surface. I used to be really vocal about like just things I didn't agree with, or just like doing my best to just come from a place of education. And when someone doesn't even like entertain the thought nor listen, like I just like put my hands up. I'm like, okay, we're just gonna keep things to pleasantries. Like, hey, how are you doing? Great, good, cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be like that sometimes with the vibes, especially when there's some tension. But
Yeah.
at least you're cordial, you know?
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's a plus.
And just like years of therapy has helped me kind of
Yeah.
get over that and expect more.
How old is your mom?
I forgot. I mean, the looks alone just like have thrown me off for so long.
Yeah.
I think she's in her late 60s.
Okay.
I want to say. Yeah.
Late 60s. Your mom's in
My mom is almost in her late 50s.
late 50s. My parents are early 70s.
Mm.
There's just, I don't know where the cutoff was, and maybe in different parts of the world it's different ages.
Yeah.
But here in the U.S., I feel like it's about where my parents are, so late 60s to early 70s, where people just didn't know anyone gay or know that they knew anyone gay because no one
That part.
was out.
Yeah.
And therefore they didn't have anything on TV or movies or books, at least that they were consuming. So they didn't understand the gay experience. So I think all of our parents fell into that category.
For sure.
And obviously, I think it's very different now. Certainly, there are people who are still uneducated and willfully uneducated, unfortunately. But people, I think, largely understand that this isn't a choice.
I think about like 40 plus is where we start to actually see people being more comfortable with openness of gayness.
Right.
I mean, there's still a lot of people in their late 40s that have issues with it, but I feel like that is the age where you see people being more open to the idea, because my mom isn't too far gone from that. Like, she is late 50s, but she is still at a place where she is open to listening and understanding. It might be hard to get through to her because she's so accustomed to like her way of life and her way of thinking and all that. But
Totally.
Yeah.
it can be done.
More exposure now has helped.
I
And
was
the
gonna
fact
say
that
like so much of like media like informs people.
that
Not a lot of
allowed
media.
us, those of us who are older in the Gen X category, it allowed us to feel more comfortable coming out.
Yeah.
And therefore, people can now say, I'm sure almost everybody, unless you live in a tiny little small rural town, that they know someone who is gay.
Yeah.
And whether it's a family member or a coworker or the neighbor down the street, you can't use the excuse anymore that I don't know.
Yeah.
At this point, it becomes I just don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there certainly is plenty of that.
Willful, yes.
But so I went through a similar thing. The parents thought that it was a choice. They wanted it to change. I wasn't thrown out, but I was given some ultimatums, and kind of went along until I was able to venture out on my own.
Right. Which again was another survival tactic that you had to implement. I get
Exactly.
it.
It's unfortunate that our chosen family, our non-traditional families, are oftentimes born of tragedy, of being thrust out of our traditional biological families. And, the good part of that is that we find something that's far better than probably we would have ever hoped for.
Right.
So, you had kind of the opposite thought process as to, oh, your mom is going to come around. She gets it. I always thought they're never going to come around. They're never going to get it. But in recent years, when I had a partner, I did take that partner to my family Christmas.
Wow.
And I don't know that they were necessarily fully embraced, but they were embraced.
Yeah.
And it was further along than I ever thought that my mom would be. So Even those old dogs can learn some new tricks every once in a while. So if we meet them where they're at, unfortunately, we want them to meet us where we're at. Yeah. And unfortunately, that just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because we're in a completely different place because we've lived this mindset our entire lives. And we usually have kept it inside at a younger age. So they just don't understand that we've gone through this whole evolution without them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what baffles them many times is that they just saw what they were projecting on us, this normal heterosexual lifestyle, and we were changing. You know, we were butterflying this whole time, and they just didn't see it.
Absolutely. And good on you for practicing radical acceptance and also being like, yeah, they're not going to...
It's hard.
It only takes you so far, too, where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to radically accept that, I guess.
Meanwhile, I was like, I'm going to tell my mom, and if she doesn't like it, then...
Yeah, that part. Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, all right, well, catch ya.
Yeah. So talking about non-traditional families, you actually have played a very big role in helping another family form their own unit. You want to tell us about it?
Yeah. I was approached by my friends to help them start a family by donating my sperm.
Aww.
And there is a beautiful, almost 8-month-old baby girl.
Wow.
Bouncing around with half of my DNA.
So the baby's born already.
Yeah, she's so gorgeous, so happy. Just, wow, I'm obsessed. It feels good.
In a way, you're a dad.
Yeah. Yes, literally daddy.
Okay.
I guess. I'm still thinking like, is that cool? Yeah, I guess I'm
That's
a dad.
amazing. That is a dream of mine. If someone wants to have my baby, yeah, please have my baby. But I would like someone to have my baby and I keep the baby. But that's very nice to do that for a friend.
Thank you.
How do you feel about it?
It feels great. I don't know. I just like, this is, I mean, I've always imagined having kids. And I think maybe that was just like, so, conditioning growing up, just being like, oh, yes, like, even after I came out, just being like, oh, well, I'll still, like, adhere to some, like, heteronormative, like, I guess, family dynamics or how I envisioned my life to lead or end up. And so I always thought I would have kids. And then as I've gotten older, I was like, I don't know. I kind of like my lifestyle, but it would be kind of cool maybe. And so this is, like, the perfect, scenario in that, like, I know I could never provide a great life for a child just because, like, I'm not at that financial stage. And also, like, based on the way that the world is...
It's getting a lot harder for queer people to have babies.
Yeah, exactly. And just,
or
like...
people in general.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where I'm just like, I don't know if I could provide in the ways that this child would need.
I mean, when I was younger, I was like, I can't wait to be a dad. And now as I'm older, I'm like, am I going to get to be a dad? I hope so.
Yeah.
And so it fulfills that, like, kind of, I don't know, I guess fantasy in a way where I was like, oh no, I would love to have a kid. But yeah, so I am the uncle. And I love, assuming that role.
So you will, I'm assuming since these are your friends that you donated your sperm to, you're going to be a part of the kid's life. It's
yes.
Here and there, popping in.
Yeah, they're queer family and they've been for a while. And so it just is kind of wild that in a way we have just like, I guess legally sealed that.
Yeah.
Or like, you're biologically.
Biologically. You are family now, 100%. I have had, you're actually the third person I've talked to in recent months who has done something like this, where a gay man has donated their sperm to someone else for them to start a family. You, however, you were telling me a little bit about this. You approached it a little differently than what some of my other friends have done. And by that, I mean, they went to a medical facility and, donated, and then the doctor took it and placed it where it should be placed. But
where does it go?
I don't know. But would you tell us a little bit about how you went about helping this non-traditional family through non-traditional means?
Oh yeah, in the most non-traditional way possible. Like I love these friends because we're like, I guess we're kind of punks in a way. We're just like, no, like we don't got the money. We also like don't want to go through all the like legal bullshit. So what we did was, they live in California. I'm in New York. I would ship my sperm overnight to them. So what I would do is I would come into this jar. my friend would tell me that they're ovulating, and I would just like jerk off, come into this jar, mix it with this yolk nutrient, put it back into this vial, chill it, and then ship it overnight. So like,
and it just stays.
Yeah, it's
fertile?
just like,
is that the word?
Yeah, they stay like active. Like the nutrient in the yolk keeps the sperm alive, and so they're like chilled. They're just like kind of chilling. You hold it in your hand to warm it up, and like they're just like waking up.
So y'all heard the hack here first. If you don't want to go through all the legal stuff,
it's so much cheaper.
Of course it is. Of course.
So
once you involve the government, it's like they want all the money.
Exactly.
And it's like we don't need to give you all the money.
Right. Right.
So how many times did you do this?
It took about 1.5 years.
Wow.
And so
365 loads.
God, I wish. Imagine 365. Yeah. 365. No, it was maybe. I think it was like 11 or 12.
Wow.
Attempts within that, and then finally took when we were least expecting it. Actually, when it finally happened, they flew me out to get my sperm tested because we weren't sure if anything was up.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubt that this method works, but yeah, just the timing of this. They were like, "Oh yeah, like we'll fly you out, we'll get your sperm tested, see if everything's okay."
Yeah.
And then like that night, they were like, "Oh, I'm ovulating. Like if you still have a load in you," I'm like, "Please, like." I was thinking about jerking off anyway, so like,
I'm a professional. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, this is like a Sean Cody shoot, like 2 loads. Yeah, I got you. And that's when it took. I don't know. It's like when you least expect it. Because truly, I was just like, fuck, like, are my cummies damaged? Like, is it just not gonna work out? And yeah.
Well, they're working.
Yeah, I guess so. I'm like,
and I've seen the photos. She is a beautiful girl.
Aww. Thank you.
Gorgeous. And there were a lot of photos. You're a very proud dad/uncle.
Yeah. I'm just like so truly obsessed. Like she's just like so precious, and like I'm so happy for my friends, and like they are the best people to be parents. Like they're so patient and just so kind and thoughtful and goofy in the best ways. Like I'm very excited.
All the stuff to be a good parent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just exactly what you need.
So has this experience changed your mind at all about wanting to be a parent, or are you happy with being the uncle?
I think I'm happy with just being the uncle for now. And yeah, I mean, things could change, and maybe I'll get to a place in my life where I'm like, no, I think I can truly support a child. But yeah, I think for the immediate or near future, I'm okay on that. But yeah, it does make me want to be a better person, even more so than before, and just like put out more just good. Yeah, just like try and help shape a better world for her.
Yeah, absolutely. So does your biological family know that you have helped this other family?
They do.
Yeah,
I've been like doing the rounds, and I did tell my mom about the baby as we were like working on it, and she was like, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, and yet again, just does not understand the concept of queerness and gender identity and any of that, and so she just was very confused by it, which is kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but we're at a place where not everyone is going to understand everyone's struggle and how things can just be easily provided to anyone who is just has the income or has had a good stable family growing up where things are provided for them in regards to having a future with family, like having kids growing up. And maybe there's queer people who don't have kids and want kids, and it's just even 20 times, 200 times harder for them to do that. So for getting people to understand the difference and the struggle of how hard it is for queer people to have kids might not be there all the time, but we're family and we get it, and all the queerdos get it. So that's nice, and that's a plus that you have that solid foundation with them, even though your biological family isn't so understanding of what's going on.
Exactly, where I'm just like, you know what, like my queer family's cool with it, and also like queer family is with baby. I just think it's funny that, you know, like your parent, I'm sure you've heard it from your parents who are like, so when are you gonna have grandkids? Like, you know, or when am I gonna have grandkids? When are you gonna have a kid? Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, here you go. Like, there's a kid. you've been asking, and then they're just so hands off. I'm like,
So crazy. I'm
like,
sure.
Like I thought, I will never, ever please you. And that's fine.
Parents just do it by default. They have these dreams for their kids, but in reality, it's dreams for themselves.
Yeah.
And whether it's them as grandparents or them living vicariously through their child to do things that they didn't get to do, it's very unfair of parents to create this narrative in their head for someone who isn't them.
Yeah.
And like I said, a lot of times they're doing it because they didn't get to have everything that they wanted in life. And yes, they want a better life for their kids. But it's unfortunate that they create this roadmap for their children. And isn't it our responsibility and our joy to create our own roadmap in life? It should be. So it's really hard when other people have decided what your life should look like for you.
Yeah. And like just breaking that cycle, I guess, too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's part of that is just, it's something that it's a challenge to get these adults, these older generation parents of ours to understand, is that when someone tells you something, believe them.
Yeah.
If I tell you I'm gay and I'm thinking this way, believe me. When I tell you that this is the kind of family that I want, that I'm pursuing, because it makes me happy, it makes me feel fulfilled, believe me. Yeah. That I don't need to have kids. I mean, I got a 26.
You got a kid somehow.
I got a 26-year-old kid sitting right next to me.
Kid.
Look, I'm 50. You're a kid. And yeah.
All right, Grandpa, let's get you back to bed.
I would love a nap, actually.
I felt that.
Me too.
I love, honestly, it brings me so much joy when people are like, hey, kiddo, or like, call me kid. I'm like, yes, like, please. Like in my head, I think,
Not me. I'm like, stop calling me kid.
Yeah.
I'm not a kid.
You want to be grown so bad.
I do. I've been babied my whole life.
I'll trade you. I'm like white knuckling youth over here.
Give him a few years. He'll get there. Okay. So what do you think some misconceptions are that people have around non-traditional families?
I feel like a lot of people will say, I don't know, just like, think of the children, like how, just not understanding the like dynamics and the nuances of that non-traditional family, and just thinking that the child will grow up damaged, or just like, you know, it's not a great household or whatever. Again, those are people that just like don't have those experiences, or like know people who have come from non-traditional families, I guess.
Right.
And so,
yeah, you have to have a mom and a dad in order to become a successful human being, a well put together human being. But I got news for you. Like, we all get screwed up along the way. It doesn't matter if it's a mom and a dad, a divorced family, a gay family. Like, we all are going to face our own unique struggles along the way.
Yeah.
And if you have a supportive set of parents or a parent, it makes all the difference. That is what it all boils down to, and that's what really matters. And it's people who don't believe what people tell them. Like, they have it set in their minds, even though it's not a lived experience for them. They have it set in their mind that this, because it's always been this way, this is what I lived, so it must be the truth. And it's unfortunate, but it's not stopping us. Like, we're going to pursue life as we see fit. Yeah. Thankfully, we all have that freedom of choice to do that.
Yeah. I mean, when people say think of the children, I think, think of the children, but more think about the parents, because it doesn't matter what the parent is, who they are, what they identify as, who they love. It's just, are they a good person or not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because we see so many traditional families say, think of the children. And I'm like, your child literally hates you. You don't understand your child whatsoever. They're always having anger issues towards you, or resentment, whatever it is growing up. So do you have the formula? Because if not, then maybe we should be thinking about the children, but more thinking about how you are coming off as a parent.
Right. It's so just like removed from like any sort of reality, and like just people are so delusional. I'm just like, oh my God, like please like check in on your children. You're not doing the job you think you are. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What advice would you give someone who is thinking about pursuing a path for a family in a non-traditional manner?
I give this advice for just like everything, but just like communication, just like talk it out. Set boundaries, you know, what you're comfortable with, what you're not. Also being open to like changing those boundaries. Like with this whole process too, I wasn't sure like what role I wanted to assume and like
Sure.
where I would fit in with the child's life and like being okay with not even being a part of the child's life. Also just the unknowingness and being open
Right.
to that. So
And I'm sure all that still comes with time as well as you progress on the journey.
yeah, again, just like communicating my feelings and being honest. And so
Yeah, and hearing how they feel about
Yeah,
it too.
exactly.
It's a very, communication, two-way street.
yeah,
there,
like if I
so-
agree to this, what is it that you guys want? What do you need from me? Like what can I do? And
How much do you want me around? You know,
yeah,
like
yeah,
so many different questions.
yeah.
What do you hope that changes in society that will help support these types of non-traditional families?
Well, we're kind of backsliding there, so maybe like reinstating a lot of the securities.
Maybe just basic human rights.
Yeah, exactly, and just like
imagine that.
allowing trans people to exist. First of all, like it's and just a reform in healthcare.
Yeah.
Honestly, and just some sort of like security net, social security net specifically too, to like allow these families to like exist and like it's just so frustrating to me too because like the people in power are just so pro-natalist and they're like, yes, have babies, have kids, like procreate, make
But
more
not
of a
you.
population, but
not
not
you.
you specifically,
But not you either.
exactly. And I'm just like that is so diametrically opposed to what you are pushing forward, and it's just homophobia
Yeah.
at the end of the day. And I guess to that degree too, it all truly boils down to misogyny also, and just like
Of
not
course.
having autonomy on your own body. I have a lot to say about that. But yeah. And it just like bums me out and breaks my heart too, just seeing like the infighting within our communities too, where it's like
Yep.
no one else is gonna look out for us except for each other. And so like why are we like breaking each other down and like fighting? I'm like,
Yeah.
come on. Yeah. Anyways, I'm just like,
Yeah.
we gotta look out for each other.
We do. Yeah. And I quote one of my favorite scriptures. Isn't it be fruity and multiply?
Ooh, I like that.
Be fruity. Yeah.
Isn't that the scripture?
What is that?
No, the scripture actually be fruitful.
I know.
Oh, okay.
But be
I don't know the
fruity
Bible.
fits more for us, and we can still multiply. Obviously, we see it here happening.
Yeah, you love to
and
seed it.
Anything is possible. So take things how
Yeah.
you like, create the community you want, build the relationships you want. Anything is possible. Don't think that you're limited just based off of your identity and your sexual orientation, because if you work hard enough, you can make anything happen,
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Including a family.
including a family.
Yeah. Cody, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
This
for
was a
having
great
me.
conversation.
Such a good combo.
I'm thankful that you guys were listening, and I'm always happy to like share and just open people's minds. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, is there anything you want to share with our listeners of where they can find you?
First of all, I love you all, and
Aw.
second, find me on socials: Instagram silver.cody, X, FK, Twitter, Cody_SEIYA, Cody Seiya. And then, from there, there's all the links and tabs and what have you.
Cody, thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Julio, thank you for sitting beside me today.
It was hard.
I know.
It was really hard.
I understand. Thank you for tuning in. Please give us a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. Love y'all.
Bye.